Hi, Marilyn here. I'm back with month 3 and I'm talking about the inset block. So every quarter I had talked about that you'll be getting an additional assignment to make a different part of the quilt. So when you're looking at the picture, we have, because these blocks are put in point, we have sashing and then we have insets that help get these blocks turned on point and set them back into a square. And so this month you're getting an additional assignment because, I don't want you getting bored and not having something else to do. So what we're making are these blocks here, okay? And these are what go on the outside of the quilt. So you see this inset here, and they go around the quilt. So that's where you're going to be piecing, and you need to make 12 of those. Easy. They're easy to piece. So first you have to cut. So with fabric 5, which is the purple right here, you need to cut 6 2-inch strips. And from those strips, you need to subcut 12 8-inch sections and 12 9.5. And so I did get out of each one an 8-inch and a 9.5. Okay, that's why you only need 6 strips. Okay, good to go. And then from fabric 7, which is your light capri, you need to cut 3 9.5-inch squares. Okay, so you're going to cut 1 9.5-inch strip and then 3 9.5-inch squares. So you'll have a bunch of the capri left over. Save it. You may need it, somewhere along the line in case there's a little error, somewhere else. Okay. Not that I'm saying you make errors, but, just in case. And then on that square, you're going to cut it twice on the diagonal from point to point, and you will get 4 8 12 triangles. These right here, okay? And be careful because you have some bias here, not here, but you have it out here on that cut. But you'll sew it back in, okay? And then from fabric 10, which is the light purple, which is called lavender, you will cut 8 2.5-inch strips, and you need to subcut those into 12 11.5-inch sections and 12 13.5-inch. So you have 8 of them because you'll get some of them all the way like 11.5, and then it will work out. You just have to count how many you're getting out of each section. But it did work out. I've done it. Okay, it works. All right, but don't make mistakes and accidentally cut them at like 11 or something. Then, of course, you'll run out. Just make sure you're doing 11.5 inches and 13.5. Okay, so this is the picture. So you look at your picture and you have the short side that you'll sew on first and then the long side. So when I sewed this, I had to match it up here, and then I turned it over to this edge and I sewed from this down, and then I pressed it towards the strip I was adding, and then the next one went on here, and then I actually sewed that from the top. So generally I would sew one just to make sure I understood how it sewed together, and then I strip pieced all the other 11. So then I went to my machine and sewed the other 11, all of this one. Okay, and then the next one goes on with this one on top, and I turned it over and sewed it, and then I sewed the last one on. Okay, but I always pressed towards the piece I was adding and pressed it all the way out. Okay, so you have this nicely pressed out. Okay, now you have to cut it down. Okay, and what it says is it's trimmed to 13.5 inches, meaning that the side should measure, each side should measure 13.5. Well, if everything's, looking good, these already measure 13.5. So you don't have to cut the edges down, you just have to trim from point to point. Whew! Doesn't that make you feel better? It made me feel better. You don't have to get a square up ruler or anything, but you should just check to make sure that they do measure 13 inches, but they should measure, this piece should measure 13 inches, and this piece should measure 13 inches, okay? I mean, not 13 inches, 13.5 inches, All right, listen to me, not 13, 13 and a half inches. That's what it says right here. Trim to 13 and a half. I don't even need glasses, but I read it wrong. So if you cut it to 13, you're making a mistake. Woo-woo. Okay, 13 and a half inches. All right, and they measure 13 and a half inches. So the nice thing about that is that you just take and put that point and that point down, okay? And then the cut, if it's all looking right, is just right across here. So you shouldn't be, the key here is that you shouldn't be cutting off that much fabric right here, that little blue one in the middle, that triangle. There's not a big cut. So if you're cutting off a bunch, there's something wrong. It's only a little sliver. I mean, these little ends cut off, but you're just a tad in from the points here. It's just a sliver, and when I did all 12, it was just a little bit off of that triangle. All right, so just make sure they're laid nice and flat. I put a little bit of my flatter spray or best press on these to make sure they were sitting nice and flat, and then I cut them down. Okay, so that's the cut down. It's really easy, very easy piecing. You can get these done in a snap, and then put these somewhere safe. Don't be waving these around and showing people, because all of this is on the bias then. Okay, so you want to just not be, you know, flinging these around somewhere. I just kind of folded them in half and put them in my project box. I fold them all together and pin them and put them in my project box and left them till the end. Okay, so that's your inset block, and then you're ready to go. All right, so I'll see you back for the piecing of the regular square in a minute. Thanks.